Single dice.
To you it is, but to me, it's a philosophy. We force order onto life so we believe our choices matter, but it's really all random, isn't it? Remember, I didn't know which way to go or which evidence meant what. I rolled the dice. Just give each choice a number and roll. Let the universe decide, like Jung's collective unconscious.
Creativity is about a two-way experience where you experience something that plants a seed that you then deliver back in to whatever it is you're experiencing. And it becomes this circular movement that basically travels with you for the rest of your life. It defines you, forms you, inspires you, scares you. And in that world, good and bad has no meaning, because in the world of digital revolution, everything is acceptable, everything is common, and there's something for everyone. That kind of world is where I come from, because it's the future, and I've always felt I came from the future.
A question that has provoked the curiosity of generations and generations of human civilization is a question of the future. What does the future look like? According to psychoanalyst Carl Jung, the future can be predicted by ritual. A ritual of looking at our past and present encapsulated in tarot cards. And filmmaker Nicolas Winding Refn is especially intrigued by these tarot cards and the possibilities they offer. The world of Too Old to Die Young is arranged in a set of dream logic driven volumes, stacked up like a deck of 10 tarot cards to be viewed randomly in any desirable order. Thus, these symbols and archetypes levitate, carefully constructed within the production design, cinematography of face, and plot. The question is, does this show succeed to be a futuristic card reading exercise? Too Old to Die Young has at its center a stoic masculine protagonist in the form of Detective Martin Jones of the LAPD, whose encounter with the Empress of the Mexican drug cartel, Magdalena, sets off a journey into the depths and perversions of the American crime world. The catch is, the series is situated in the middle of events, without providing a clear beginning or an ending. This opens up a random dream logic for the story, which floats around the worlds of Mexico City, the Mayates, and the obscure secret world of vigilante justice against pedophiles, jutting out of the police department through Diana, Martin, and Vigo's lack of confidence in the outwardly fascist American police. In classic Jungian fashion, it's not only the world around Martin, but also his inner psyche that's marred with darkness and evil alongside light. He's in a sexual relationship with an underage minor girl, with her perverted father accelerating their transgressions. So let's establish a psychological exploration into this world through a Jungian lens. Too Old to Die Young is a meditation into the world of pure sin, where night and day collide and morality is in the grey. We have to look at the world beyond the lens of simple good and bad. Jung claims that the future resides in our dreams, and the story of Too Old to Die Young is very much designed like an amoral dream for us to interpret. In this story, every character has an inner world and an outer world, such that the inner world tries to hide itself from the outer world. The outer world of the character, their traditional roles in society, hint towards what Jung calls the persona, the performative mask worn by an individual in society. On the other hand, the inner world refers to the Jungian shadow, the dark hidden unconscious underneath the mask. Martin's persona is that of a cop, whereas his shadow aligns with vigilantism and sexual fantasy. Yaritza's persona is that of a loyal wife to Jesus, whereas her shadow is aligned towards being the high priestess of death and killing Nazis. This interesting dichotomy as a contrast between persona and shadow, as what is seen and what is hidden, is very illuminating to understand the show. If we observe this contrast aesthetically, the light on our protagonist Martin's face, besides the atmosphere, is usually reflective of this expressionist concept. High contrast between highlights and shadows backs up the idea of a day and night duality, thus opening for us a door to explore the collective unconscious of the tarot cards that Refn has presented to us. Toward the midpoint of the chronological order of Too Old to Die Young, Jesus realizes there's a serpent in his house, and then we cut to him embracing the serpent. This is a purely symbolic scene without any plot implications. A serpent is a typical Jungian symbol that in dream analysis represents rebirth. And so in Too Old to Die Young, symbols float within the mise-en-scène of the show, getting increasingly interlinked as we progress through the story. The show's collective unconscious is fundamentally organized by turning each volume into a Jungian tarot card. As he himself claims, Refn edits each episode as a 60 to 90 minute block, standing for a dream cycle that we experience during sleep. By designing an episode after a tarot card, the collective unconscious is one with which we have to interact by selecting the episode we are personally drawn to. The story of Too Old to Die Young is thus a curation of 10 tarot cards out of the 78 card deck, and it can be viewed in loads of different ways. So what I will do is pick a few personally intriguing cards and analyze them to predict my version of the future. I suggest you to do the same and figure out where it takes you. Let's first take volume 5, named after the card, the Fool. First have a look at the image of the card. What I observe here is a man with ample resources walking up naively to the edge of a cliff with a white bird. This man, as is obvious, stands for the fool. A fool who seems to be walking towards a point of no return without knowing about it. We can proceed to see how this energy is reflected in Refn's episode, where Martin wanders into the desert to locate the Crockett brothers and lure them into his trap to kill them. At first, it is clearly the brothers who seem to reflect the fool. Refn thrusts the absurdly comic atmosphere of the archetype into a car chase sequence, where one of the brothers is basically wandering into the night. Eventually, it is revealed to us that even Martin is the fool in the grand scheme of the volume. He wanders into the desert without any personal intent, unearthing a woman buried alive by these men, a Mexican woman who stabs him and runs away. This is the point of no return for Martin, foreboding his eventual run-in with the Mexican drug cartel that has thus been unleashed. And so the archetype of the fool hints to us Martin's downfall, which is obviously linked to another archetype, the hanged man. The interesting feature of this archetype is that nearly every major character interacts with it at some point in the story. The first, most obvious interaction starts with Yaritza, whose request for the butt of her gun to be inscribed with this tarot card sets up this archetype for the rest of the story. When her gun is delivered to her, she provocatively plays with it like a phallic symbol and ultimately emasculates Alfonso by pointing it toward him. This symbolic gun is then used by Aritza to shoot Nazis and Damien, almost archetypally triggering Volume 8, appropriately named The Hanged Man. In this volume, Martin is eventually tortured and beheaded, thus explaining how the archetype of the fool leads us to the archetype of the hanged man. These archetypes end up creating interconnected patterns based on the order you view the series in. Yaritza not only triggers the hangman archetype, but she also becomes an archetype herself. In Volume 6, Yaritza is divinely drawn to Magdalena's face, the icon that is worshipped by her family. Magdalena, as a Jungian symbol, clearly stands for the Great Mother, the Empress archetype that signifies fertility, creativity, and growth. Yaritza and Jesus both interact with this Great Mother icon, engaging in fetishistic ritual, trying to engage themselves and become whole individuals. This not only mirrors the Oedipal complex, but also makes her face a sacred icon. In fact, as these two try to find themselves, we get to see two contrasting ideas of the self out of the marriage between Yaritza and Jesus. One of them actually becoming an empress who avenges the rape of women in secret, a successful union with her shadow. The other who calls himself King of Kings and goes on the dark path of raping and murdering people, a pathological embracing of a violent, ruthless persona. This therefore leads us to Volume 9, The Empress, where Dinah gets visions of an alien woman amidst death and darkness, a ray of hope for the future. This woman is subtly revealed to be Yaritza, which signifies how she is the one who has become the powerful archetype after interacting with the symbol of Magdalena. In this way, the dichotomy between persona and shadow is evident here as well. So as you can see, my personal order of this show goes from Volume 5 all the way to Volume 8, coming back to Volume 6, and then looking into Volume 9. But there's a recurring pattern that I observe in all of these volumes. Right from a discussion about Martin to Magdalena, the visual idea that Refn focuses on is the face. The most important faces of the series are presented as abstract expressions. Have a look at the most enigmatic character of the series, Vigo, introduced to Martin as the Hermit in Volume 3. Vigo's compelling face carries a dead eye, wrinkles, and a tight, focused attentiveness. This fake eye, which the camera often focuses on, carries a story of its own. Vigo was shot in the head while working for the FBI, but he came out of the incident alive after what he describes as 3 minutes of death, and he remarks that losing one eye gave him a gift of knowledge. Vigo's face carries a story that connects him to the highly popular god of Norse mythology, Odin, the god who lost an eye and is said to have gained complete knowledge of the world thereafter, and hanged himself upside down to unravel unconventional wisdom in Norse mythology. That's right, Odin also connects to the archetype of the Hanged Man, Volume 8, where Martin's head is cut off by Jesus, but this triggers a prophetic dream in the mind of Diana. Refn, in this way, writes an entire story of Vigo's self on his face, a story for us to decrypt, demystify, and connect with the surrounding archetypes. We could say, in poetic fashion, that the eye lost by Vigo is the one eye symbol found on a pillow of Janie's house, connecting to her father Theo, who thus represents the mysterious elite and who has mystical eyes on the common people and frequently commoditizes them. The one eye symbol represents the Illuminati, the Western occult, and such self proclaimed all powerful groups associated with magic. This leads us to Volume 7, The Magician, where Theo shows Martin a film that recalls Martin's life. After Theo disappears, the police interrogate his daughter, and the cinematographic framing of Janie is that of a perfect triangle, mimicking this one eye symbol, invoking a mystery for us. So now that I have done a card reading of the show based on some of its select archetypes, here's my prediction of the future based on Refn's world. Through this card reading, I can neatly extrapolate some important themes that Refn predicts for the future. The fall of man, represented by the hanged man archetype, Jesus' decay, and Martin's anticlimactic death. The rise of the feminine, represented by Yaritza's celebration as the Empress and Dinah's ecstatic and spontaneous dance. And finally, an obsession with the face as a sacred idea instead of an aesthetic quality. So I do think I get what Refn is trying to do with Too Old to Die Young. He's trying to create a thematic painting of the future that the youth can relate to. On a deeper level, I just happen to realize that there's an eye for an eye at play in the show. Vigo's loss of an eye gives him knowledge about the world. Theo's gain of an eye might seem to give him an all-seeing powerful eye, but it lacks any true knowledge about the world. This is why he ironically becomes a disappearing trick in himself in The Magician. In Too Old to Die Young, we are also given a camera eye to perceive the world of Refn, a world that suspends time for us to think and meditate. Refn would get his own tarot card readings from filmmaker and close friend Alejandro Jodorowsky, so his relationship with the Jungian tarot exercise is quite deep-seated. But Refn and Jung also have a lot in common. Both have had their flagrant controversies. Where Jung was banished by the academic community for getting into the occult, Refn was booed at Cannes for Only God Forgives. Both these men ended up being rebellious anti-establishment thinkers with polarizing fan bases who played obsessive games of symbols and archetypes. I think Too Old to Die Young poses itself to be a form of ritualistic mythology, but a ritual works only when it manages to create an active engagement. Look at the rituals of our respective religions. The myths of our past have dealt us grand moral lessons about right and wrong only when its believers are made to engage with them to find meaning in them. I recall being excited about a fictional company, Lumen's LinkedIn page for the highly acclaimed Apple TV series Severance, and the entire experience of make believe from the perspective of believers almost enlivens this fictional premise. Imagine a marketing campaign where Too Old to Die Young launches live tarot card readings that tell people not only about their individual future but also archetypal connections with the characters from the series. This could have explained Too Old to Die Young as a practical ritual to be engaged with, a series for the future, from the future. So while I think Too Old to Die Young will become largely forgotten, the reason I wanted to make this video was to open up the idea of engaging with this show in the form of a tarot card reading. Besides that, this essay has been made in anticipation of Copenhagen Cowboy, Refn's next series produced by Netflix that I am honestly really looking forward to. If you are from the future, I'm confident that future Suave Critic has an analysis of the series prepared for you in the end screens of this video.